Today's guest is pianist Michael Kanan, a Boston native whose lyrical touch and deep roots in the jazz tradition have made him a sought after accompanist and bandleader. From touring the world with the legendary Jimmy Scott and Jane Monheit to recording with Kurt Rosenwinkel and leading his own trio, Michael's career bridges tradition and innovation. His journey is one of quiet mastery and unwavering dedication to the art of jazz, and we are live. So, Michael, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Abe, for having me. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah. We were just talking before we started recording. This is probably going to be the first interview of just getting your perspective on things. And I was telling you, it kind of bothers me a little bit, like that you haven't been recognized in that way to want to get to know.
Well, it doesn't. I appreciate that. And now that I'm thinking about it, there was one interview, and I don't know if it still lives on YouTube or not, but Gabrielle Stravelli, a great vocalist that I've worked with many, many times, she was for a while she was doing an interview show, and she invited me on. That's the only other one I can think of. But I'm just happy to be working.
I mean,
So
I guess that's what
whether I'm
matters, though.
interviewed or not,
Yeah.
I'm just happy to have my corner.
Yeah. Well, how,
Yes,
how long have you been
absolutely.
on
For
the?
me.
How long have you been playing on the New York scene for? If you were to like if in terms of years, you think?
Well, I moved here from Boston in 1991, and I guess my career started really in about 1995. That's when I really started working all the time, and I quit the little day job that I had and just had a go at being a musician.
So we're on
And
30
and
years.
then yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I'm grateful for every minute of it. I'm grateful for New York, and I'm grateful for, all the people, all the musicians that I've met here, and and I feel like I found my little corner of the jazz world, my little spot, and I'm just happy to experience all the music that I can.
Yeah. I first discovered your playing when I was listening to a Kurt Rosenwinkel recording, the album Into It, I think it's called. It's probably in the early 2000s that was recorded, if I'm not mistaken. Do you remember that
I
recording?
don't remember exactly when. Yeah. Oh, of course, of course. And that's strangely, that's how I feel like most people, uh, that's how many people know my name is from that record. And I was so happy to be a part of it at the time. And Yeah, it was a beautiful session. I'm glad that that record exists. Uh, Kurt's sound is a little more stripped down than it is today, and it really shows his roots in swinging music and how much he loved playing standards and uh, and I'm glad that that recording is still out there for people to hear.
So what I've said, you've heard before that they got introduced to your music through that record.
Yes, and so many guitar players have approached me and said, "Oh, wow, you played on Like, yeah, well, sure, you know, like 25 years ago. Uh, but yeah,
But then it
many
opens them
people
up to getting to
have
know
told
you
me
on a
that.
different level, though. Then they get to explore
I,
your. So with
I
so
hope so. I hope so. I'm playing with another really great guitar player now in my trio, named Greg Ruggiero, and I hope you'll have Greg on your podcast sometime, because he's a fantastic musician, and he's the third person in my trio along with Neil Miner. And I saw your interview with Neil. I thought it was great. And yeah, Greg and I have been kind of following a similar path for a long time.
when you say following a similar path, do you mean just being on the scene and just trying to play and the music is number one? Is that sort of what you're going at?
Oh, sure, sure. And I guess I would say just trying to focus on music fundamentals, not working on the bells and the whistles, but just getting a good beat, getting a good sound, learning how to play in an ensemble, uh, hearing what we play, not playing too much. Just basic stuff.
And that stuff you're talking about is the hardest stuff to do, in my opinion.
I would agree with that, Abe. And I think the real masters that we all listen to, I think that that's what makes them masters, is their grasp of the fundamentals. It's not all the crazy stuff. It's how they uh it's yeah, just their grasp of the fundamentals of music beyond any style.
Yeah, I know
The thing,
exactly what you're saying.
time,
Hmm.
touch, sound. Yeah.
Like I was on a gig this past weekend and it was just like nothing was coming out. Like from the like it's just and it was like those fundamentals you're talking about. Like my friend was like, just play something simple. That's what he said to me when I told him nothing was coming out. And it's easier said than done because when we go to play this music live, it's a different stream of consciousness. At least I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, and just for me, the eternal search is staying out of my head for one thing, and just breathing, not overdoing it.
Is that the hardest part,
And I
you
can
think?
hear when I hear recordings of myself, I can hear exactly when I'm doing it.
Is that the hardest
For
part to
me, it
get out of your head?
is
Okay.
absolutely.
Um, w-
Yes,
any words of advice to
yes,
musicians to
it
help with
is.
that? Any words of advice for musicians to help with that part, the brain?
Well, I'll tell you what I often, yes, I'll tell you what I often tell students, those when I do teach, um, look up from your instrument. Just look at the people around you. Just check in with them. And often, as a pianist, the keyboard, the teeth are staring up at me, right? And so I get so involved in what I'm doing, and I'm getting so involved in harmony and chords and all that. Just every once in a while, raise your head, check in with the people around you, and it reminds you, oh, there's two or three or however many other souls that are around me right now, and just take a breath and listen to them.
Sometimes when I look at the guitar and I play, it's not going to be good. But if I look like let the neck of the guitar, this part blur, it helps me get out of my head a little bit. So when you're talking, I understand, I think what you're saying about don't look at your instrument. It's odd. They don't teach you not to look at your instrument in music school.
Well, I unfortunately I think that a lot of music schools they focus less on fundamentals than I would hope. They focus on more advanced harmonic concepts, and well, I mean, everything has its place, but let's get the basic things together. Let's get the basic rhythm together. What does it mean to have a beat? What does it mean to have a swing feel? That in itself, it's a lifelong quest, and it's mine. It's my quest for sure.
I always feel like the more you do this, the less you know the magic of playing your instrument live and being in the space. Is there something that maybe 10 years ago you thought about playing the music that you look at completely differently now?
That is such a great question. Um, the answer to that in every period of my life always seems to be the same, which is don't worry about impressing anybody. That's the simplest answer I can give.
And that's
As
probably the
soon as
hardest.
as soon as I yeah, I guess I don't know. It's hard. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but that thought creeps in and out of my silly brain. And when I'm free of that, then that's when the most music happens. And going back to what I said earlier, if I'm with people that I really love playing with, which is most of the time these days, if I just look up and listen to what's going on around me, it sets me free.
Do you remember the first concert you went to when you moved to New York at the club?
I don't remember which was the first. I remember a series of firsts. I remember going to hear going to Arturo's, the pizza joint on Houston and Thompson Street. They have music every night, and I actually still work there. But the first time I went there was in '91. A friend of mine brought me there, and I heard the incredible pianist Harry Whitaker, and that was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I don't know if people today know about Harry. He passed, I think, in 2010. But wow, what an incredible musician! And then another place I went to, it no longer exists, but it was another restaurant gig called Sophia's that a different friend brought me to. And I heard the bass player Pat O'Leary, uh, and that was another ear opener. And he's a dear friend today, and we still play together all the time. Somebody that I look to as a big influence on me, one of my many big brothers and mentors. So those were two of my early experiences in New York.
One of the first concerts I ever went to in New York was to hear Ralph LaLama, his trio, and Pat O'Leary was playing bass. This is probably back in 2007, something like that. Are there many musicians like that who
Yes,
you idolized, but then now they're dear friends?
absolutely. Uh, in the pianist world, Bruce Barth, um, Ray Gallen, Tardo Hammer, Steve Ash. Um, yeah, so just so many. Um, Neil Miner has been a huge has had a huge impact in my life, and yeah, and lots of others. Jimmy Wormworth, um, the great drummer, um, Billy Mintz, another great drummer. Yeah, just a ton. So many people that I look up to, and that's why people still come to New York to learn how to play jazz. Is there's still so much great music happening here.
How do you think New York has changed the most since you arrived back in the 90s? If there was one or two things you could pinpoint.
Um, well, I'm not sure. I feel like work has gone up and down. Uh, the ability to work, but for me overall, I feel like work has improved the longer I've been here. I think really one of the ways that New York has changed is it's gotten so expensive. And I think that makes it much, much harder for young musicians to come here. Um, In terms of the music itself, it's a tough question for me to answer because I guess I came here being more influenced by like Lenny Tristano and that whole world of people who studied with him, and then I kind of branched out away from that world, and I was trying to play in a way that I would call modern, and that you know I wasn't exactly the right fit for me, and I found my place really loving songs, which I always did, but it became a main focus for me and really studying the Great American Songbook. And, that led me into the whole world of accompanying singers, which has been a great thing for me as well. So I just feel like I kept figuring out what it was that I needed to do. And at each stage, whenever I did that, more opportunities opened up. And I will pass along to young musicians, and I often say this. Um, One of the biggest things about living in New York is perseverance, just hanging in there. And I think that's tough for young musicians living in social media age where, you know, everybody wants everything to happen immediately. And that wasn't the way for me. It was a long, steady process of hanging in there. And the person who said that to me actually is another big brother and mentor that I forgot to put on that list, which is Pete Malinverni. But just hanging in there in New York, and just find your place and keep doing the music you love, whether anyone else is into it or not. And I think you find your people that way. And that was my experience.
Yeah, that's some of the best advice I think I've heard on the podcast, to be honest.
No, I'm happy to share it. It was given to me, and I'm happy to pass it along to others.
Well, Michael, I want to thank you so much for, speaking with me today. It's been such a pleasure. I wish we could keep going, but I think for the internet's sake, we'll keep this one to around 20 minutes.
Sounds great. It was such a pleasure to get to speak with you, Abe, and thank you so much for having me on.